Hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my channel and another STAMPtember limited edition exclusive set. This collab is with Altenew. If you're not familiar, I love Altenew. I use their products a lot. And if you love florals like I do, they've got a lot. So even though this set is limited edition, they have many to choose from. And also, if you're new here, hi, welcome to the chaos. I'm Amy. I love large floral stamps. Love them. Large floral dies, large floral anything. I'm here for it. Can never have enough of them. They make me happy. So, this is the Joyful Bouquet set. And I love it. I love it. Because you just can't go wrong. So, I stamped it onto some Strathmore watercolor paper. I've shown this watercolor paper a fair bit recently. I actually had Simon Says Stamp get it in. I can start carrying it because it was kind of hard to find, and it's so cheap, and it works really well with inks. And yeah, so I stamped the floral with Simon's New Black ink onto that watercolor paper. And then to do my watercoloring, I'm using Altenew's fresh dye inks. I've mentioned in many videos that a lot of water reactive inks work really well for watercoloring. I've used Simon's Positively Saturated inks many times. I've used my Concord 9th inks, and I've mentioned the Altenew inks would most likely do the same thing. 99% of the time, I use Altenew's inks for like stamping and then all the layering stencils. So this time I was like, oh, I should watercolor with them. Success, huge win, love it. I like how these inks, how they move. You can use regular watercolors. You can use whatever you want. You know, we have so many options. Love it. So normally when I'm doing watercoloring like this, I, stamp the image and I heat emboss it for those raised edges. I talk about that, having my little bumper pads. But this month I'm being a little crazy, and just testing a few more things out and just stamping and watercoloring. Like, who'd have thunk? So the only thing I have to pay attention when I'm doing that is you need, one area to be dry if you're going to paint right next to it. So that's why you saw me with my heat tool there, just to dry that. I only did that just so the colors wouldn't run. That's it. Like, you don't need a heat tool or anything. You just need a little more patience, which, one, I don't have very much of, and two, I literally don't have the time. I have super sped this up, but I'm also going to do 2 panels. This was originally only going to be a 1-card video. And then while I was watercoloring it, I was talking to my patrons because I do real-time coloring videos for my Patreon members. And I was going on about how just switching the colors changes the look. And I've mentioned that many times. It's whether it's a floral, whatever it is you're doing, when you change the color combo, it can drastically change the look. And I was saying with this floral image how changing the colors, I could easily make it into a holiday card. And then I couldn't get it out of my head, and I had to do it. So after I watercolored the first one, I stamped it again, and all I did was change the colors. So with both these, I did list the specific fresh dye ink colors I used. Again, anything will work. You can use watercolors, other water reactive inks, distress inks, oxides, all the things. So many options. So many options. And then I'm using just my little water brush. That's it. And the only layering of more than one color was on the large leaves of both of these images. That was it. Everything else was just one color per image to keep it simple. Learn the basics and then, start to experiment more and more. But I kept it simple because, again, I was doing just extra. So these ones I did, these deeper shades, brought in that brighter crimson color, and this would totally work for a holiday card. In the end, I just kept with the same sentiments and whatnot from this limited edition collab set, but I could have easily switched out and done holiday sentiments with the card I do with this specific image. But I'm still going to count it towards my holiday cards. Because why not? Why not? So, yeah. These large leaves. These were the only ones where I actually mixed 2 separate colors. So for this one, it was the Forest Glades and Evergreen. But again, could have just done one shade, you know? It is what it is. You can also, too, of course, use like just a little paintbrush, dip that in water. It does give you a lot more control when you do that. Using little water brushes like this. They're a little finicky. You can't see it, but off to the side this entire time, I have a cloth that I will just use to absorb the extra water because sometimes the water brushes just like to get drippy for no reason. And then also to wipe it off in between the colors. And yeah, I just smush my ink pads to a non-porous surface, this little plastic palette, pick it up with the brush and paint. And yeah, these inks worked wonderfully on this cheapo. It's cheap watercolor paper. It's very lightweight, but I love it. I love it. I use it a lot. So when they were dry, I die cut them. And then for my backgrounds, I pulled out Altenew's Stone Wall press plate. At the end of this video, if you are not familiar with press plates or anything, I have an entire playlist with all the videos I've done. And at the one of the very first videos I ever did with press plates, I think it was a live stream even. And I go more into the ins and outs of it and actually show and discuss it all. I love press plates. I love them. Like, they're so fun. And most of the time I use them either with just whatever inks. I don't even use the Better Press inks most of the time. Like here I'm using Altenew's Fresh Dye inks. Yeah. Inks, you can hot foil with them. I love press plates so much. Altenew's Fresh Dye inks are amazing with the press plates because they are felt ink pads, so they're firmer, so it's easier to ink up. You can use foam ink pads with press plates. You just need to be a lot lighter handed, so you're not smushing ink all over the place. But I applied the ink. I have cardstock just lightly taped to the clear plate of my Better Press. Specifically, it was blush cardstock from Altenew, and then the ink was Rouge. And then you just run it through and I use the Spellbinders Platinum 6 machine, and that presses everything together. And you get the crispest impression. Even with the cardstock, I get a little bit of actual texture. It just varies. If you want that real like letterpress look, like really pressed in, you need to use thicker, like either thicker watercolor paper or like the Better Press paper, things like that. But I just love press plates because options. I've shown other, like again, hot foiling with them, running them through a die cut machine without the Better Press just to create texture, without ink. Yeah, I love them. I love them. So with the second one, I did Forest Glades. Was it Forest Glades? Yes, Forest Glades cardstock and ink. Always remember, color ink on color cardstock. It's always darker at first, and then it will dry back. On the first one, it'll dry back a bit, not as much, because I did the Rouge ink, so like slightly darker. On the green one, it will dry back significantly, because I use the same color of ink as the cardstock. So it'll be much more tone on tone at the end. I was fine with that. And because these are fresh dye inks, I just wiped it off with a baby wipe. The Better Press recommends, like Spellbinders recommends using the like archival ink cleaner if you're using the Better Press ink on press plates. Again, I don't really use that ink very often. So I just wipe them off with a baby wipe because, again, 99% of the time I'm just using like water reactive dye inks with the press plates and they're good to go. So anyway, those panels I trimmed down. I ended up actually trimming them down more than I showed. I trimmed them down to about 3.5 by 4 3/4. Yeah, and I set them aside. My card bases are top folding A2 white note cards, so 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And I'm putting the insides of my cards into my MISTI and then stamping that floral image. The first one I stamped with blush ink and then cleaned off the stamp and then stamped it with eucalyptus ink onto the second card base on the inside. And then I took one of the little sentiments from the set. I'm going to line that up and I'm going to stamp that with the black ink. And like I said, I could have used like specifically holiday themed sentiments for the second card, but I was running out of time. Wasn't planning on doing 2 cards and then, just ran with it. So stamp those. And then rather than fiddle with foam tape, because again, I wasn't in the mood, I just die cut some scraps of heavyweight cardstock and adhered them together with liquid glue. Just one layer. You could pop it up more if you wanted. But I just did the one layer just to build a little dimension, and specifically with the floral, because like I said, this watercolor paper is a bit thinner. It's roughly like, I think the classified as like 90 pound. So I would say, yeah, they claim it's 90 pound. I would say that's about accurate. It's definitely lighter weight. Like I would not use that watercolor paper as like a card base. You know, I like it for doing things like this or making up inky backgrounds and then die cutting, things like that. But this also just made it easier to create dimension. And then I use the same, just some heavyweight cardstock on the back of the panels that I used in the Better Press. This builds just light dimension. This is like dimension light. Otherwise, if I wanted more, would have used foam tape. So I adhered everything together onto their card bases, and I'm just putting everything under acrylic blocks while, let one dry, work on the next one. So I adhered those panels and the florals, and then I'm going to trim off the bits that are hanging over the edge. I was sticking them into my splat box, but I didn't like how the pieces were hanging on to the next card. So cut those off. I know it freaks some people out, but it's okay. Your eyes naturally finish, the unfinished edges, and this way they can fit into a regular A2 card. However, if you want to leave the bits hanging off, just use a larger envelope. Whatever floats your boat. It's all good. So I trim those off, and then we're going to add splatter, because I love it. Specifically, these two Altenew gouache tubes, which I remember when I first ordered these, and I wasn't paying attention. I didn't realize how big they were. And I did social media posts about it and everything. I was like, look at these enormous tubes. I've got lifetimes of splatter. I've used up already half of each of those tubes. But you guys know, I love splatter. You can skip it if you're not into it. It's totally fine. I just love it. I love the texture it adds and everything. I love it. So I add the white gouache to my palette. I thinned it out with a little bit of water. Used my little fan brush. Splattered it. And then I'm going to add black splatter, which that really freaks some people out. And I get it. But once you start getting into it, man, it just... you just fall into it and you can't stop. So added a bit of that. And I went much lighter with the black splatter. Not near as heavy-handed. Just a bit. Just for funsies. So after I added the black splatter, while that was drying, I white heat embossed the Thinking of You sentiment from the set. And I die cut it with a coordinating wafer die. Now, again, a lot of these collab sets tend to sell out, the ones with the coordinating wafer dies. Sets like this, I would just stamp the sentiment and trim it out with a sentiment label wafer die, or just trim it, into a little strip. Simple. The floral, easy to fussy cut. It's not super, super finicky. This is actually the first year that I've received the coordinating dies. All my previous STAMPtember, videos, doing 5 bajillion videos, all the things, I fussy cut all month, every month. It's not the greatest when you're doing an entire month's worth of videos like I do, and I was going to do it this year too, and I was just very pleasantly surprised, and I very much appreciate it. It has saved me a ton of time, but if I didn't have the dies, these are the things I would do. So I would white heat emboss the sentiment and then just trim it into a long strip and put it right across the bottom, the same area of the card. Totally would work. Same with the little sub sentiment I decided to add, that little I appreciate you. I just stamped that with black onto scraps of white cardstock and then adhered it. So the green one, I'm still putting that with my holiday card stash. It doesn't have holiday sentiments, but it meets my personal criteria to send during the holidays. So that's what I'm going to use it for. And then as my little final embellishment, I pulled out some of the Altenew Stellar Sequins. These sequin packs are enormous. If you like to make shaker cards, things like that, you get 6 different sizes of each of these colors. And they're fabulous. I love them. So I only added a few just for that little extra bling. I used that's Dazzling Diamond on my holiday one. Just picked them up with my reverse tweezers, put little dabs of glue down, stuck them in, let the glue dry. And then for the other card, I used Twinkling Pink. It's just a little bit of pink shimmer. And then once I have them in place, with sequins specifically, because they're cupped, I just make sure I've kind of straightened them out and I just press them into the glue and then just let the glue dry and we're good to go. So once I got that last one in place, I just go through and like that. Just press them into my little glue blobs. And then I just got to let the glue dry. And the glue dries clear. You won't be able to see it. It'll just be the little sequins like floating there on the card. And I love it. So that finished off the cards. As always, I'll have links to all the things in the description box below. And I'll have a link to the Altenew products at Simon Says Stamp, because if you're not familiar with them, oh, they're worth checking out. They're worth checking out. So many large florals, so many other fun things. So yeah, I'll have links to all the things, everything I used, etc. in the description box below the video. Thank you all so very much for hanging out with me, for thumbs upping and commenting, letting them robot overlords know you like what you see. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in joining my Patreon community and supporting me, the link to my Patreon is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't, I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye!